Hello, this is Donald Jenkins, your Master Purpose Development Coach and the CEO of the Purpose Development Institute. And welcome to Crushing Average TV. Hey, listen, I am excited that you took some time out of your busy schedule to get some very important insight that I'm sure that by the end of this video, you are going to find to be of great value to you if you are in this space of player development. So before we dive into today's subject and talk about the future of player development, let me give you some simple instructions. Number one, make sure that you subscribe to this channel because this is the only place in the world where you're going to be able to come and get cutting edge resources on how to hit the player development sweet spot. So make sure that you subscribe and share with all the coaches in your organization, in your athletic program, and in your network as well. Not just the coaches, but the trainer, anybody that love basketball and work with today's youth in regards to development, they need to be a part of this channel. So again, make sure you share that information with them so that they can connect themselves to some very powerful insight that's going to change the game when it comes to player development. So today what I want to talk to you about is I want to talk to you about the future of player development. And that's what this entire channel is going to be about. The Crushing Average TV is basically a product of the Purpose Development Institute. It's the YouTube channel of the Purpose Development Institute and the PDI Smart Coaching Community, where we equip you to develop skills. We equip you with cutting edge insight to hit the player development sweet spot. Now that sweet spot is something that you're going to discover, as you subscribe to this channel. And I want to basically, be that one to reveal to you what are the deficiencies in this area of hitting that player development sweet spot and how not hitting that sweet spot is going to work against everything that you are trying to work for. I understand the energy that you put in, but you want to make sure that the players that you're working with, that they're able to match your energy. And if you don't understand how to hit that sweet spot, then it's going to be difficult for the players that you're working with to match and exceed the energy that you are putting into it. So what I want to do is I want to share, just a little insight, from our growth hacking bootcamp manual that you receive once you sign up, to be a part of our 3-hour growth hacking bootcamp. In other words, in 3 hours, I'm going to blow your mind. All right. We're going to blow your mind to give you a behind the scene look at player development. Some things that I'm sure that you have never, ever considered before in your entire life, because they're what we call some hidden assets, that we typically don't even address in player development. But once you understand how to, number one, be aware of those hidden assets and implement those hidden assets or integrate them into your player development strategies, you're going to put yourself in a position where you will understand how to work smart and not hard. In other words, you're going to be able to get more power, more potential out of the player for least amount of effort. Doesn't that sound good? Well, that's exactly what we do. We deliver those kind of results, but we deliver those kind of results through what we call growth hacking. Now, growth hacking might be something that you never heard of before, but I promise you, after you begin to understand what it is, you're going to want to know more about growth hacking. So today is just kind of an introduction. We're going to talk about the future of player development. And in the future, guess what you're going to need? You're going to need growth hacking skills. You're going to need a growth hacking action plan. That's the reason why we put together the growth hacking boot camp, because now it's going to give you the action plan that you need, number one, to work with yourself, to help you understand how to growth hack your role and then put you in a better position to growth hack the players that you are working with. Now, this is not a new concept. This concept is just as old as human. We were designed to growth hack. But now what we're going to do is we're going to unpack what does it mean to growth hack. So in our boot camp, what we do is we unpack those simple strategies on how to hit the player development sweet spot. There's a sweet spot, and we reveal that in our research-based model that you certainly need to understand. If you want to take your coaching acumen, your training acumen to the next level, you need to understand, what that sweet spot is all about and how you can hit that sweet spot, because hitting that sweet spot is going to allow you to work smart and not hard. So this entire boot camp is based on my story, as a standout athlete in high school. I played for 3 different high schools. But there were some things that, along the way that I discovered that I'm still implementing in my business right now. I was able to take it from athletics and even incorporate it into my business. I wish that somebody would have told me that what I'm using in my business now could have taken my athletic skills to the next level. I wish someone would have told me back then as a youth, then I would have done a whole lot more, in sports than what I achieved, during my lifetime. I achieved some, cool things, not at a high level, but, from a county MVP to, catching the attention of Division I, Division III colleges. So I was somewhat of a standout athlete playing at 3 different high schools. But I left a lot of potential on the court. And I left a lot of potential on the court simply because no one taught me how to growth hack. Okay, growth hack my skills on the court and growth hack my skills off the court. I'm going to say that again. No one told me how to growth hack my athletic skills, and then no one told me how to growth hack my skills on how to show up to be a better version of myself. No one taught me how to do that. And that is a missing component in player development, but it is the future of player development. Player development includes growth hacking athletic skills and also growth hacking, the skills that are required to help players show up, to be a better version of themselves. See, here's the deal. A lot of times, when you're around the player, it's easy for the player to show up, and do things when you're around. But what happens when you're not around? Can they still show up at a high level? See, that level of show up when you're not around, that level requires growth hacking. And that's the reason why this growth hacking boot camp, or you being able to create a growth hacking action plan, is going to be extremely important. Because what happens is, I say it like this, that's where the magic happens when it comes to player development. It's called the player development magic. What is that player development magic? When they finally get to the point of doing exactly what we tell them to do when it comes to coaching and training, when they begin to put in the work themselves, to take their skills inside and outside the lines to the next level. So you're going to learn growth hacking on a new scale. Again, I told you this is where you're going to learn cutting edge resources, on how to be on that cutting edge of player development. So again, this is where we unpack those simple strategies on how you can hit that player development sweet spot. So a little bit about my story is that before I discovered how good I was in basketball, they put a basketball in my hand, and that basketball brought purpose alive in my life. In other words, I discovered a purpose before I discovered my athletic skills. I didn't even know how good I was. I had no idea. Didn't have the coaches. My dad wasn't around. When I discovered my love for basketball, no one was around, to be honest with you. My family, had a lot of land, a lot of property, and a construction company. So they built me a full court basketball, fully paved and everything. And that was my lab. That's where I went into the lab and I began to, unpack my purpose to unpack my athletic skills. That gave me a purpose, during a critical season of my early life, you see. So I encountered purpose before I encountered the performance in sport. But in today's society, we want kids to encounter performance before they encounter purpose. But what we don't understand is that it's the purpose that drives the performance. See, I can give you a story of that. In fact, in my Growth Hacking Boot Camp, that's what it's all about. I teach you how to encounter that purpose to drive performance. Because when you encounter that purpose to drive performance, you're going to get more power with the least amount of effort that you're putting into coaching and training. So that's the reason why it's important. This is the future of player development. We got to get back to being able to unpack, the purpose behind the sport, so that now that the athletes, the players that we're working with, they can show up in 2 places. They can show up and be the best version between the lines, and they can show up and be the best version outside the lines. See, really, when you understand how to master showing up to be the best version outside the line, then that's when it's going to drive you showing up inside the lines. But what we don't understand is that there are some liabilities outside the lines that attack and undermine our potential. So it prevents them from showing up inside the lines. See, that's what this boot camp is all about. So I'm going to give you a behind the scenes look at what those liabilities are. What are those risks? See, here's the deal. You can be the best trainer in the world, the best coach in the world, but you still have these risks, these liabilities that you're dealing with when it comes to player development. It doesn't take a rocket science to figure it out. Just read the media. You can see how top athletes, doing great things between the lines, and all of a sudden they make one bad decision, outside the line that affect everything that they're doing inside the lines. See, is what takes place outside the line. It's growth hacking on two ends. And that's the reason why it's important for you to be a part of Crushing Average TV, to be a part of our PDI Smart Coaching community, so that now you can create that growth hacking action plan. I always say it like this, as a young man, because I didn't know how to growth hack outside the line, I left a lot of potential on the court. I left a lot of potential on the court. Even though I was, I caught the attention of a Division I, Division III school, county MVP, had a few accolades, I still left a lot of potential on the court. But when I got into business, I was determined not to leave that potential on the business court, because now I know how to growth hack. So as a coach and a trainer, you need to understand how to growth hack so that, number one, you can minimize these risks for your own life. Because here's the deal. If you don't recognize what these risks are, how can you help the players? How can you help the players that you're working with? You don't even understand how to minimize those risks of growth hack, those growth hacking risks for yourself, then there's no way that you can help the players. So as a result of that, this is a risk that we deal with in player development. So the future of player development, incorporates or includes incorporating and integrating this model that Dr. Lilly and I created to help you minimize those risks in player development. So that's the reason why I'm excited to be able to, engage with you, to be a part of the Crushing Average TV, the PDI Smart Coaching community, and to help you create a growth hacking action plan. Again, in 3 hours, I am going to blow your mind. And we got some trainers that, out there as well that can also take you through this process of blowing your mind in 3 hours when it comes to player development. So again, make sure that you subscribe to this channel, and then share with as many people in your network so that they can be a part of the cutting edge of player development as we teach them how to hit the player development sweet spot. God bless you, and I look forward to helping you become PDI smart, because watch this. You might be basketball smart, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're PDI smart, and I'm going to help you become PDI smart. Look forward to working with you.